Hello, welcome to my final project summary. This project aimed to ask the question, does the inclusion of an audio DDA system have a significant effect on players' experience of flow? Dynamic difficulty adjustment, or DDA, in video games is a means by which the level of challenge may be altered to cater to players of differing abilities and skill levels. By providing a level of challenge that is neither too hard or too easy, DDA aims to guide players towards the immersive state of flow, and it does this by adjusting game parameters in response to gathered performance data. Flow and DDA are closely linked, therefore it would be useful to observe the effects of such a system if flow were the measured dependent variable. There is currently little available research into audio as a form of DDA in games. However, existing studies suggest potential in this area. Ludic sound in games provides functionality designed to aid play. Therefore, the presence of this assistive audio may have a direct impact on the level of challenge. This research project aimed to establish whether the inclusion, omission, and manipulation of audio cues could be used to effectively adjust the difficulty of a game in real time, based on player performance. Of particular interest to this study was the use of ludic attention attractors, designed to provide hints and warnings regarding game objects and events outside of the field of view. These attractors could be used to aid in locating objects, and by changing the amount of ludic assistance they provide, alter the difficulty of a game. Research into easily detectable sound led to a study into e-scooter audio to improve public safety. To determine which sounds could be most easily heard above other street noise, sounds with differing frequencies and characteristics were tested. The research found that modulated impulsive sounds with content in the range of 800 to 1000 Hz were the most optimal when considering and comparing detectability versus annoyance. Based on the research, this study aimed to test an audio DDA system in the context of a 3D platformer-style game, which included ludic attractors in the form of collectibles that feature audible emitters, additional distracting sound introduced to increase difficulty, and environmental changes designed to provide ludic information. To test the proposed system, the Unreal Engine StackerBot demo game was adapted to create a playable time-based game, the aim of which being to retrieve as many collectible orbs as possible within a time limit of 5 minutes. The demo features various structures and props that the character may traverse and interact with whilst locating and collecting the energy orbs. The character has abilities available such as jumping and hovering via the use of a jetpack, as well as respawning by printing a new robot at the last visited checkpoint. The included orb counter supplies score updates, and the addition of a game timer and game over screen provide the time-based challenge and final score upon completion. The time limit, props, puzzles and collectibles supply the basic level of difficulty for the game. The orbs scattered around the level were assigned specific ludic sound emitters designed to aid in locating them. By altering the audibility of these sounds, along with other changes in audio, the level of challenge was modified based on player performance. The time-based nature of the challenge allowed time to serve as a performance metric. A system was designed to check the time taken between subsequent pickups, as well as the number of orbs collected within the recent time frame. This real-time performance data could then be used to communicate with the audio systems and alter the current difficulty, optimizing the level of challenge and potentially increasing experiences of flow. The sounds of the orbs are key to the game's objective. Based on the research into electric scooter detectability, the most effective frequencies for localization were used as a guide for their design. The main orb loop base asset was created with a fundamental frequency of 1K, the harmonics of which would be introduced by opening a low-pass filter, causing them to increase with proximity. Recordings of chimes in a bell tree were used as the basis for this asset. The volume of the sound was modulated using the tremolo effect in Wwise. The resulting pulsing of the audio serves to draw attention in a range of environmental conditions. This effect was further modulated using an RTPC to alter the speed of the tremolo based on the player's proximity to the orbs. The audible range of this ludic emitter is controlled by a dynamic attenuation system and forms part of the audio DDA system. Each time the player collects an orb within the level, the attenuation scaling factor of the orb's AK object is reduced by a factor of 2. Subsequently, the attenuation radius increases slowly until it reaches its original maximum value. The intended effect of this is that if the player performs well by successfully locating and collecting subsequent orbs within a short time, they will only hear the emitter when very close to the orb. However, if they struggle to locate any orbs for an extended time, the emitter becomes gradually more audible over a greater distance, thereby increasing the ludic assistance and decreasing the difficulty. As player performance increases, additional sound that competes for attention with the ludic emitters is introduced. The Orb Performance RTPC controls the volume, filtering and trigger frequency of additional sounds such as overhead spaceships and distant groans. Additionally, chattering creature sounds are gradually brought to the foreground using filtering controlled by the same RTPC. The inclusion of these additional sounds serves to mask the audibility of the orb emitters, increasing the difficulty based on performance. In contrast to the ludic emitters designed to draw the player towards their source, environmental changes occur if the player moves too far from the nearest orb. The closest variable is referenced by the AMB-BP blueprint, where the distance between it and the player character are compared. The resulting float value then sets the location-based ambience control RTPC. This game parameter controls a blend container in Wwise that crossfades between the main ambience and a more discordant sounding asset featuring more erratic changes in pitch. Additionally, this RTPC controls the frequency with which distant rockfall is triggered by decreasing the initial delay on its random container when the player moves too far from the orbs. The purpose of this system is to deter the player from continuing too far off course. To determine if the system had a significant effect on players' subjective state of flow, two versions of the game were created. Condition A included the audio DDA system as described, whereas Condition B was identical in features except for the omission of the DDA system. 18 participants were then divided between the conditions and played a version of the game. Following this, each participant reported their final score, then completed a 36-question flow state scale questionnaire. The long flow scale provides a multidimensional assessment of the flow experience as described by Csikszentmihalyi, and substantial evidence of validity has been published pointing to the reliability of long flow scales. While the average total long flow score was higher for Condition A, no statistical difference was found when a t-test was applied. However, p-values of less than 0.05 were identified in 3 of the individual flow dimensions when comparing conditions. These were clear goals, sense of control, and loss of self-consciousness. However, these results were conflicting, clear goals favouring Condition A and the latter two favouring Condition B. The absence of statistical difference when analysing the total long flow score, coupled with opposing results found in flow dimensions that did show statistical difference, do not provide conclusive evidence that may lead to the rejection of the null hypothesis. The results suggest that the DDA system was either too subtle in its effects or simply ineffective. It would be interesting to conduct the study using a larger sample, however some changes to the system and its audio may be required to improve its effectiveness.